quiet Sunday morning around 11 o'clock in Cairns. Quite cool last night. I was quite surprised. I had to actually put my wind cheater on. That is very unusual for the night. It's the coldest I think I've felt at night. There was supposed to be a bit of a cold patch coming through. Nowhere near as bad as for my long-suffering cousin down in Melbourne. Her and her partner were both freezing their asses off. Yesterday it was 11 degrees when they rang me at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah, it put things in perspective. Still gets into the low 20s here, and it actually should be warming up a little bit. It's actually probably a little bit cooler in July than it was in June, which is sort of the opposite to what you'd expect, but that's okay. It's weather, that happens. Just going to head down to you know where, the supermarket, of course. Got to keep replenishing the greens. And yeah, had a reasonably healthy meal last night. Hadn't had much meat. I'm actually going to indulge myself with a little bit of bacon because I went off it for a week or so. I don't want to eat it all the time. It's very nice, but processed meats like that are supposed to not be as good as having healthy meat. I'm trying to look at what getting the free range chickens, but it's actually harder to get information on the chickens than it is on the eggs. So I'm going to just have a look around, see what the price is. I mean, the chickens are incredibly cheap, and one thing I found a little disturbing is actually apparently the time it takes to grow a chicken nowadays is actually reduced quite considerably, and that's why the productivity's gone up. But it means that the actual animal only lives for about 39 days, I think, which is a bit of a shock to me. You know, I didn't realise that their lifespan was that short. That's absurd. And how the hell can they grow in such a short period of time? It's a bit of a worry. So that was a bit disturbing for me. You know, I think I'm happy to be an omnivore. I don't mind eating a bit of meat, but I don't want animals to suffer because of it. I mean, we do have plenty of alternatives anyway, so that does worry me a little bit. You know, I think one of these days we'll have artificially grown meat anyway. It already exists, but it's more an expense situation at the moment. It's just the economies aren't there. But eventually it'll have to happen because we're running out of land. There's just too many people on the damn planet. So we'll have to come to alternatives, and of course it is. No animals have to die as a consequence, and that's obviously a preferential situation, in my opinion anyway. So see how we go. Yesterday I had a bit of a night. Well, it actually wasn't yesterday, it was a few days ago. I was in a waiting room. It's the only time I ever get to watch broadcast TV. Well, I did watch it last night watching the football, but that's the only time I watch broadcast TV. So not current affairs, but there was actually a morning, it was Channel 7's Sunrise, I guess, and they had a panel talking about coronavirus, and it was all heavily staged, even to the extent that they'd had like a camera crew with a tracking for the camera, so that it would actually do a semicircle around the back of them, sort of make it look filmic. And sort of, I guess the idea is to probably add gravitas to what they're saying, because these supposed experts are probably real lightweights, you know. Commercial morning TV, I'm not looking for getting the creme de la creme of intellectual discussion. It's just not going to happen. But what I found telling was how insecure broadcast TV has become. They're actually, one of the people speaking, one of these experts with inverted commas, actually said, "Oh, you don't want to source your information online. You just don't know about the authenticity of that. You can't trust stuff online. You need to come to an authoritative source of news like us." That's how insecure they've become. They're actually trying to tell their audience to stay with them. They know that they're losing people, and they're freaking out, and they're trying desperately to hold on to what little audience they have left. Well, they've got a large audience left, to be quite frank, but they're losing the youth. The future's not looking good for them. Corona's been good as a stopgap because people have had to self-isolate, and that's given them a slight respite. But I think the slide will continue once we get back to normality, whatever that may be. Will there be a new normal? I don't know. But you would think that things will get back to a trend line, in which case they're going to continue to lose audiences. And personally, I couldn't give a stuff. I find everything about broadcast TV just puts me off. You know, it's so staged and artificial and phony. I just really enjoy the authenticity and the depth of YouTube. I can get a video on a specific topic I'm really interested in, and the people won't just use sound bites. They'll go into depth on the subject, and really without agendas, you know. And if they do have agendas, they're fairly transparent. So it's so much better than what we've had to put up with in the past. It really is the golden era of getting information, if you're prepared to look at the sources and make sure you're getting people who aren't basically just agenda driven and pushing their barrows. You can avoid it. You just have to basically put in a little bit of time, and probably a lot of people aren't prepared to do that. I understand that, but I'm certainly, I love it. I think YouTube is a fantastic resource for information, and you can get differentiation of opinions, and you can watch it when you want to watch it, and you can watch as much in-depth as you want, rather than the superficial garbage that's usually turned up by say a commercial station that's basically beholden to their woke advertising buyers. A lot of the corporates now are incredibly woke. They may as well be in the university gender class. It's a sort of, you know, it's surprising so many people still watch broadcast TV. I'm guessing because of habit, and they haven't got time to think about alternatives. But at least it is changing, and it's going to be a profound change in a decade or so, because you'll see huge shift in audiences, I think. Anyway, that's what I'm hoping. But from my personal perspective, I'm very happy that I have the opportunity to pick and choose what I want to watch, and I love it. There's some great people online, and I find it a brilliant source of information and discussion. Just started watching another new, I think it was a Netflix series, Brave New World. I remember reading it as a kid. You know, like I said, I'm 65, so you can imagine how many years ago it was that I read it. Probably, it's frightening, 50 years ago. It would have been, maybe more. That is frightening when you think about it. God. I sort of vaguely remember the themes in it, and remember it sort of had a little bit of a crossover with 1984. It's actually really divided people on the Internet Movie Database. Some people really praise it, other people are putting crap on it. Mind you, anything that's adapted from a book is generally gets really, people get very sensitive about adaptations. They've got a definite idea how a book should be adapted, and if it doesn't follow their edict, then they will really get quite angry about it. And I think that might explain why it's such an incredible difference of opinion. It's one of the most divisive looking productions I've ever seen as far as that's concerned. From what I saw of it, looked fine. I didn't have any problems with it. I can't recall a lot of the plot elements, the basic stuff, sure, about, you know, taking happy pills and what have you. You'll get that, and the epsilons and the alphas and the betas, all the different classes. I remember that stuff, the basic stuff, but not the nuances of the story, because, you know, like I say, it's been 50 years, and I don't think I've picked it up since. I may even have it as an audio book, but if I do, I'll definitely listen to it, because it's a really good way for, you know, especially with my crappy eyesight, I much prefer to have audio books as opposed to having to sort of to read them. It's a bit more of a task for me than average people anyway. But I'm glad they're making it. The other big one they're going to be making is actually they were in the throes of production, but Corona might have delayed it. And that's the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov, a classic sci-fi series. Grand sweep it is too. It's huge dimensions of the story, just covering different galaxies and a gigantic intergalactic empire. It's a huge sweep, a big canvas, and I don't know how they'd be able to do it adequately, but with CGI I guess it's easier now than it was. I would have filmed this earlier, but there's just been so many people down the centre of Cairns today. It's the busiest I've ever seen well, not ever seen, but for some time. Of course, as soon as I start filming it blows up. It's actually been quite still today. It's been a good day, but my luck, start filming and it blows. Yeah, and at Woolworths I was able to get the toilet rolls I wanted, but there's a limit of 2 per customer, which is quite extraordinary. So we don't have any problems with Corona up here at all, and yet there's still the effect of panic buying. It may be because they just don't have the supply from the south coming up here. I don't know, but it just seems absurd that we're paying a price because of the meltdown presumably in Victoria. So there you go, there's actually limitations on toilet paper, although they're on the shelves. That's the main thing. It's not like the bad old days when there's just empty shelves. So that's good. But, yeah, I think the retailers here would be quite happy today to see so many people wandering around. This is a Sunday, and it's like I say, I have not seen this number of people before. It is late in the morning. It might be just the time of day I'm coming up here, but I think it'd have to be encouraging to anybody running a business to see so many people here. So I guess Queensland tourists at least are returning anyway. So even if they're not getting the big spending overseas tourists. Also Vietnam, they are loosening up international travel, and should be next month, but not for Australia unfortunately, although we are one of the big tourist places. They get plenty of Aussie tourists coming, but initially it's just going to be people in Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, and places like Cambodia. Those are the places they're going to first allow tourists to come from. And strangely, South China of all places, Guangdong. Anyway, down the south of China, they're allowing tourists in from there, which I found very strange. But that's what it says in the Saigon Times. So I would think that probably maybe late this year, it might be possible for Aussies to return to Vietnam as tourists. So that's good news, I guess. Just as long as there's second waves happening and things like that. So that'll be good for me. I'll have to get a new passport though, because mine runs out in May next year, and you cannot travel unless you've got 6 months on your passport. To apply online and get the wheels in motion, so I'm ready to go when the time comes. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever, and either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.